this thing on? There we go. Nice. Oh, thanks, man. Awesome to be here. First time in Oz. Absolutely amazing. Loving the city, loving the people. Already fans, and people are very welcoming. And of course, having the rise to the title was amazing. When I started the journey in the UFC, I saw it play out quite a bit sooner. I always had the goal. I said by the time I'm 30 years old, I'll be the UFC champion. And unfortunately, with COVID taking away some time from me being able to fight more regularly in the beginning of my UFC career, I missed that goal by 6 days. I fought for the belt 6 days after my 30th birthday. So, that's the planning was almost pinpoint accurate for that. But now it starts. This is my first title defense, and obviously the first time that two Africans are on a main event of the UFC. That's history, and that's amazing. Two African-born fighters main eventing a massive pay-per-view event. That's history. So that in itself is a massive honor for me. And then of course, fighting Israel, arguably one of the greatest middleweights ever, and that I wouldn't want to defend my title against anybody else.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit about how this is a big one for your legacy, right? Being able to beat Israel, get that win, you feel like it's really going to sort of take you to the next level. Break that down a little bit for us.
Yeah, not necessarily taking me to the next level, but in terms of legacy, every single fight is for legacy, and you don't want to be just. Once you become a champion, you have to realize, firstly, when you're in the UFC, there are no easy fights. Every single fight is the potential world champion you're fighting against. And then, of course, when you're at the top of the pile, when you are at the top of the sport and being a champion, everybody coming up is extremely hungry. Everybody's looking at you and figuring out and seeing the holes in your game, seeing what you do good, seeing what mistakes you make. And, for a guy like Israel, he has been there for a very long time. And he, like I said, he is considered one of the best middleweights ever. But now, this is my chance to show that I'm one of the greatest middleweights ever.
Question for Israel. Israel, you took a little bit of a break, man. We were able to recharge your batteries, so you were hanging out like Anthony Joshua and some other great champions as well. What's it been like to be able to sort of take some time to yourself and be able to, recharge the batteries a little bit?
Yeah, a long break. This is the longest layoff of my fighting career. 5 fights in 18 months, not as even a fighter, a champion. So it's not just the fights itself, the camps, the pressures of being the king of everything. So it was good for me just to remove myself from the game, enjoy life, took up golf, slowed things down a little bit. But yeah, doing that makes me appreciate this a lot more because I get to see my homies like, Carlos, Kevin Jousset, even now the young guys, Navajo Sterling, toes him up, Aaron, they're starting to get into the UFC, and seeing them enjoy the little things. Like when I got here in 2018, UFC 221, I was that kid, bright eyes and everything. So seeing them bright-eyed and like, wow, I'm about to get in the UFC, or I'm in the UFC doing it, kind of reignites that flame. And also taking the time off did that for me. So yeah, walking back into work.
Yeah, you've had a crazy journey in the UFC. You've had so many epic fights, moments, titles. But you mentioned on your channel, which is amazing, everyone should check it out, how it's not about titles for you here. You've had enough titles. Can you sort of break that mindset down for us a little bit?
Yeah, people don't understand because most people never been in our situation. So for me, look, I've been here, bought the T-shirt, done it twice. Yeah, it's not really about that. For me, it's taking on the best warriors from different lands and, yeah, putting them on my record. I've never beaten Dricus Du Plessis, so beating him is what attracts me to this fight, not the belt. So those who have never, ever been in our shoes will never understand that mindset. So, yeah, fuck the belts, I'm coming for heads, and I stick with that.
Israel, just back to you. You spoke about being the king and the pressures that go along with that. Can you give us a bit of an insight into how mentally exhausting that can be, just holding off a whole bunch of guys who want a piece of you?
Oh, it still feels that way. It never changes. I'm Israel Adesanya, There's always going to be a target on my back. But experience. I've had experience in this. But again, what we do is crazy. We might seem like invincible people, but we're humans. So again, as the most active champion in history, 5 fights, 18 months, it was just too much for me. And I was forced to take a break, and I'm happy I did. And by the time I step back in there with Dricus, it'll be almost a year. A lot's happened in a year. A lot has changed for me in a year. So, yeah, I look forward to just enjoying the process, all this shit, till we get in the octagon, and then we scrap it out.
And in terms of the time off, did you do anything, apart from resting, did you do anything in particular?
Yeah, took up golf, something different, because I never ever thought, if you told me 2 years ago you're going to love golf, what? It's stupid, but it's something different from my day-to-day. You know, every day is hard grind. And golfing, it's a way for me to get in nature. This summer was my way of getting outside. It's slow pace. I'm that dude on the course who takes his shoes off because I like the earth. And I get weird looks, but I'm like, bro, take your shoes off. It'll feel nice too. And it's cool. So I just took up golf, skydived a couple of times, adrenaline, I need that. And yeah, still worked, helped my teammates, traveled, but it's been good to just live life as Izzy rather than as a style bender and constantly So yeah, it's been nice.
Israel, there seems to be a bit of tension between yourself and Dricus. Can you just...
Really?
A little bit. Can you just run through why that is?
Tension. There's always tension whenever you fight anyone. This is a fight at the end of the day. We're not playing chess. We're fighting. So there's always going to be tension there. We've had history over the years. It's almost like destiny because we met in the staff investor room in Thailand, Tiger Muay Thai, back in the day. Had a little play around. And funny enough, here we are again. It's like full circle, back where it all started for me. So, yeah. And also, again, he tried to discredit the Three Kings and say that he's the real true African champion. And I was just like, it's a weird mindset, bro. Like, he came in the UFC. I knew who he was a little bit, but I didn't go, oh, who the fuck's this fake dude coming in? I just said, cool, there's another African in the UFC. But then him discrediting me, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, that ticked me off a little bit. So that's what started this. But again, I'll finish it.
And what does it mean to you to come back to Perth, where you started it? Does this place hold a special place in your heart?
Perth, bro. I'm a local of Scarborough. That's my spot. Shout out to Ash. He's the one that fucking put me on. But yeah, I love Perth. Every time I come out here, I like the energy. I love the people. And this is where my UFC career started. This is where I became the big dog in the yard. And I said that as I finished Homeboy in the Cage. So, yeah, it's always nice to come back to where it all started and carry on the legacy.
Dricus, do you just sort of have a response to what Israel said before about the tension between yourselves?
Yeah, no, for me, calling it tension, there's no tension for me. I get into the octagon and I do my job. I do my business. You can be the biggest asshole in the world. You can be the nicest guy in the world. I'm going out there to kill you. And I hope you're doing the same to me, because otherwise it's not going to be a good night for you. And as far as discrediting, never discredited anybody. Stating facts. Where do I reside? What's my postal code? Where do I train? Where do I live? Where was I born? In South Africa. Still there, still training. And I won this belt from South Africa. I didn't travel anywhere else. That was the only thing that I stated. So never discredited anybody, but quite frankly, I don't really care about how it rubbed him off the wrong way. I don't care.
I don't really give a fuck where he's from, but I'll show him who he is.
Yeah, whatever that means. I'm glad you took up golf, because that's a retirement sport. I can understand you start playing golf.
Hey man, you do what you have to do in your own time.
And Dricus, I suppose you're the champion, but Israel lives in Australia now. You're going to sort of come in with a bit of target on your back from the crowd like Steve did not long ago. How do you plan to handle that?
Well, I mean, I've been fighting I've been fighting the crowd ever since I got into the UFC. So at the end of the day, if the crowd is cheering, if the crowd is booing, at the end of the day, it's noise, and it's electrifying. Obviously fighting in Canada, the crowd was against me, and I won that crowd over. They were chanting my name by the end of the fight, and that's at the end of the day what it's about for me. Coming in and turning haters or turning the boos into cheers, not because of what I'm saying or, how I'm doing it right now, but because of my performance. At the end of the day, I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, and the people pay to watch that. And if you can create fans by performance, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to put up the best fights and give the fans the show they came here for.
Israel, just after your time off, do you feel like you've added more weapons to your arsenal for this fight?
Definitely. We've shuffled the deck at the gym. We kept what was useful and discarded what wasn't. Added a lot of different tools to my game. Working with my teammates as well, helping them out. And I look forward to showing off come August. Like for me, this is just, I've missed this, low key. I've kind of missed this, even you guys. And yeah, I look forward to getting back in there and showing off what I can do, showing out.
Izzy over here, thanks. You mentioned before that the belts don't mean that much to you, but with the win over Dricus in Perth, you create a bit of history by becoming the first 3-time middleweight champion. Does that part mean a little bit to you as far as legacy?
Not really too much. I'm already the 2-time champ. It's not really, it just adds to it. Even when I fought here in this arena, I said, bro, the belt's a fancy tiara. It's going to come either way. I'm just going to keep winning, and everything else will come. The belt, the money, the fame, the adulations, all that. Look, with the win over him, he still keeps that belt. That's going to sit over his fireplace, and I get a new one. So I've got so many belts. It doesn't really matter to me. And I'm saying what I don't have is him, his head, and that's what I'm coming for. So I want to fight with freedom, and that's what I'm going to do, fight freely.
Dricus, talking to the crowd, are you going to try and get the Perth crowd on your side in the lead up to this one?
Yeah, I mean, quite a big South African community in Perth. And, obviously with Australia and South Africa, we've shared so much history in terms of sports, with cricket, rugby, and, it's always been a very competitive relationship, but I also feel it's a very respected one, with the Tri-Nations, with all of that. And, this is, we share a lot of similarities, South Africa and Oz, when it comes to these sports, and especially fight sports. Looking at how small the sport was in South Africa and not too long ago in Oz as well, and all of a sudden, it just starts, erupting, and the same in South Africa. And then, of course, coming to Perth, I think, with that similarities in terms of culture and how people go about, when that fight goes, I've only heard great things about the events in Perth, and I think the crowd's here for a fight. And that's one thing. When I show up, please show me one fight where it wasn't an absolute banger. And I think that's what the people are coming. That's why the people are paying. That's why the people tune in. That's why people show up, is to watch these fights and be entertained, because that's what we are at the end of the day. We are gladiators, and we are modern day gladiators that are here to entertain the people, and I can guarantee you that 100%.
The night before, there's a massive rugby game. You're going to obviously have a keen eye on that, or you're tempted to go across, top the stadium and have a look?
Oh, man. There's one thing that it is weighing day, so we'll have to take a look at that. My priority is going to be the fight, but yeah, that's the one thing I'm so happy that it's on the same weekend. It makes sense. It's going to be massive for South Africa and sporting. And you can imagine what the vibe is going to be like in Perth. It's going to be electrifying. But at the same time, not necessarily being able to go to the game is kind of sad. But hopefully and surely we'll have a couple of the Springbok boys coming to the fights. And it's a big weekend for South Africa and obviously for Oz as well.
Peter, the card is looking fantastic so far. We can't wait for another big event in Perth. How many more fights do you believe will be announced on this particular card?
I don't know how many exactly. There are still some open spots on this fight card. I announced all the fights that are confirmed already just earlier on, and so there are obviously a few more spots to be filled, and we expect announcements probably in the next week or two to see this card be finalised.
Must be
Please put
impressed
on
with the
Dan
amount
Hooker.
of...
Dan Hooker needs to fight on this card.
Still my question, is he?
Dan Hooker needs to fight on this card. It's just, it's atrocious. He's not even here right now. I tried to get him to come here, but he was in Sydney last week. But he needs to be on this card. He'll fight anyone. So please, if you want to see this card get stacked even more, put on the Hangman Hooker.
He's mentioned a couple of